All right, folks, we love to end each week of KPAN Today with Taylor Bradford, the Gloucester Daily Times, and Erika Brown of the Manchester Cricket, because that covers all the news in and around KPAN for us. So we're going to lead with Taylor today. Taylor has a great conversation about graduation and details therein, as well as school reopening for Gloucester, which is not an easy process right now. And then she also gets into a little bit of road construction happening on Grove Street. Here's Taylor.
Good morning. So this week was pretty exciting for a lot of seniors here in Gloucester. So they had their graduation on Monday night. It had originally been planned, way back earlier this year, but again, COVID-19 had us push it back till Sunday. Then the onset of a tropical storm, then again, postponed it again to Monday. But Monday was beautiful. The lights over at Newell Stadium were, bright, and all the students were there socially distant during the ceremony. Sitting in their seats, being called up and receiving their diplomas in person from Principal James Cook. So it was quite a night. And the evening ended with surprise fireworks for the students as well. So for those who attended or those who didn't attend and were wondering what the noise was, it was in fact fireworks. Now, who set off the fireworks? I have no idea. I've been asking people about that for the whole week, but it was very timely as it was done in the moment in which they instructed the students to turn their tassels from the right to the left. So very kind of representative of kind of a turning point for the seniors. So very exciting stuff. But, as they look forward to next year, to college, to trade, to whatever they're planning next, the schools here in Gloucester are thinking about what's next for the community here for those high schoolers, middle schoolers, elementary, and pre-K who will be learning here in the city, whether that's remote or in person. So last night, the school committee got a rundown by Superintendent Ben Lummis about a preliminary reopening plan for the district and kind of seeing what that might look like. And depending on what grade level your child is in, it might look a little bit different, not solidified, but as of right now, elementary school will meet in person with an hour of remote learning scheduled in the afternoon. Preschool will meet in person with reduced class sizes. The O'Malley Innovation Middle School will have a full enrollment hybrid, and the Gloucester High School will run a split day hybrid. Now, if you're wondering what hybrid means, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education defined that as a combination of in-person and remote learning. So some students will have that kind of screen time that they experienced in the spring, and teachers are kind of trying to deliberate what that might look like. But again, nothing has been solidified. The school committee still needs to approve the final plan later this month, and they are planning to host a public hearing for communities and teachers to kind of speak their minds on Monday night, because they kind of, knowing that the meeting yesterday was going to run long, nixed the opportunity for people to really speak about the returning to school last night, saying that they wanted to create a forum just for that on Monday night. Teachers and other people weren't too happy about that, as you can watch in the recorded on the city's website. But again, the school committee mentioned that they wanted to create that space for a later time, knowing that the meeting would go long, and the meeting did go long. It went from 7 to roughly 11 o'clock at night last night, so they had a lot to talk about and still have a lot to talk about. So this is a conversation near and dear to a lot of people. As we talk about that, we talk about the new school building, education, whether it's traditional or, just what you're learning on the streets. It's something that everyone has in mind these days. So,
yeah. This is the first time the school committee has met with the new superintendent. Is that right, Taylor? In official role?
No. So they have had a couple other meetings when Ben has been present. But this is kind of, I think, his first big task. There's a lot of different things in the conversation of our schools these days, right? With building projects and GTA kind of agreements, but then also, with kind of what does the next school year look like? So their conversations have been going on throughout the time, but really looking at, what do schools look like seems to be the biggest conversation point for Bennett in his new role this year. So
how is he holding up? How do you feel that conversation is going between the school committee and Ben Lummis?
It's a great question. I haven't talked to him since I interviewed him when he first came on. So, maybe there'll be a follow-up interview in the near future. But he seems to be doing well. From what I can see from the Zoom screen, he looks I think he was over at the Blackburn Park facility the school has over there. So he's in the city, doing Zoom calls, of course, distantly. But, from other than that, from what I see in the school committee meetings and such like that, I'm not quite sure, but we'll definitely follow up.
Yeah. Not an easy time for students, parents, staff, or administration. So, geez, it's going to be a pretty messy month until there's more clarity. But okay, thanks for that, Taylor. You also want to talk about road work on Grove Street?
Right. This summer, we're seeing a lot of construction happening throughout the city. Lots of roads are being redone. Construction's being done by National Grid and Grenice, and the city's looking to kind of fix up different places that have kind of weathered our winter storms and other things that have gone on in the city. But the people over at Grove Street, the homeowners, seem to pretty discontent with the way in which the city has gone about repairing their roads. So as they see all this other stuff going on, they've experienced what they see raw sewage flowing on their streets. They've been seeing uneven pavement work that's being done to patch up potholes and things that have kind of degraded over time, and also trailer trucks traveling at fast speeds down their street. Now, right, this Grove Street is kind of adjacent to the cemetery, Oak Grove Cemetery, and it's not the biggest. It's a longer street as the connecting, but it's not that wide. And so the community members have kind of expressed that their concerns are, right, there's elderly people who live there and want to really make sure that they feel safe, not only as these cars are driving by, but also the uneven ground. Some of them work in the evening, and they commented that these trucks are keeping them up at night. And, other people are saying that they've been living in their home for 50 years, and this problem of the conditions of the road has not changed. That when they moved, there was a problem, and that problem has continued, and it just seems to be, as they've said, a band-aid over something that needs a permanent fix. And so the conversation is still going. The city did respond. One of the community members, Craig Hamilton, spoke at a city council meeting, and the city responded, kind of explaining what is being done and what can be done. So again, all that can kind of be read in the article that's on our website. But to kind of give you a little bit of snippets, right, with the sewer, they kind of commented that the city has replaced some of the sections of the sewer main and had planned to do the second phase this spring, but due to COVID, certain projects such as that had to be put on hold at the time being. And they're encouraging Craig and other community members to follow up as they continue to work. And they've kind of commented that the DPW has Grove Street on their mind and in the queue, but it's again all about navigating what goes first in terms of repairment here in the city. And Grove Street community members really think that their street should be priority.
There's been a lot of road work done this summer, and it's looked excellent from Rogers Street and Western Ave and Hart Street got redone. A lot of places around here. So yeah, that's not easy too. Priority lists and of course the COVID situation. So yeah, we'll have to keep us posted on how that plays out over in Grove Street and other neighborhoods too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
The school committee has had a bunch of meetings with the new superintendent, but I think this meeting was the first one that was really had some heat in it, and it sounds like it was pretty contested. And I think this is the story around the country right now.
Yeah, we should try to get Superintendent Lummis on sooner than later, just to see how he's navigating this new gig, because it can't be easy. So, good luck to everyone involved with the schools this fall. It's going to be bananas. Speaking more to the school situation in Manchester, we are also with Erika Brown, the publisher and editor of the Manchester Cricket, and she talks about a slew of subjects, including the fishing tournament that they just completed again, Castle Manor Inn, and we end with cocktails. Heather, your favorite subject.
Yeah, and we need to have cocktails because just before we talk about that, we talk about opening schools. So in Manchester. So you need a drink after that.
Cheers.
Hey guys, we had a big week this week here in Manchester, starting off with the Manchester by the Sea Fishing Tournament Revival.
Mm-hmm. How'd it go?
It went great. It's been in sleep mode for the last, I want to say 6 years. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But before that, it ran for 19 years. And so a local resident, or actually two of them, Nate Berkowitz, whose father-in-law, David Baer, was a big part of the fishing tournament originally, the Rev 1.0. He's the one who led the charge, and they had it. 91 people entered. It was socially distanced. It was very today. It was socially distant, and so therefore we didn't have the weigh-ins, the daily weigh-ins, which is usually a big thing at any tournament. Everyone gathers down at the docks between 6 and 8 every day of the tournament to watch who brings in what fish. It's always great. It's great to go down there with a cocktail and watch. That did not happen this year because everyone was given, when they checked in, a branded tape measure for the tournament. That was one of the premiums. And if you caught a fish, then what you had to do was take a picture and then remotely, register it. So one of the problems with that, though, is it only judged on length, right? It didn't judge on weight. So sometimes you may have had a fish that was 43 inches that may have been bigger or would have won in previous years. But if you caught a skinny 46-inch striper, then you were out. You were number 2. So anyway, that happened this week. It was great. The other thing that happened was, in terms of today, is it was all catch and release. So it was catch and release because you remember that now we have this slot this year, and so any sort of award-winning length fish would not be legal to catch anyway. So, yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Well, let me tell you. From the pictures, it looked like people were having a lot of fun anyway. Got some really big ones. The winning fish was 46 inches long, if I remember. Christina Yutkins, it was won by a woman. And then one of the fan favorites was Anthony Brown, who got a 43-incher, I think. Yeah, 43-inch striped bass. I don't know. I don't want to. Can you see that? There he is.
Bigger than him.
That's a great fish. And so that was our cover boy this week. So there you go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Erika, you want to talk about Castle Manor Inn?
Yeah, Castle Manor Inn. Well, that's not in our backyard. That's actually in your backyard. Mm-hmm. That's up at I call it the top of the causeway. It's up top of the hill of the causeway. So it's on the north side of the causeway. It backs up against the back of the Annisquam River and the Blimmin Canal. Mm-hmm. So the Castle Manor Inn, I think most people don't think of it for going out to dinner because they think of it mostly for events and weddings because it's got such a great, it's sort of an all-inclusive kind of thing. It's beautiful. It's in an old turn-of-the-century mansion that's been, redone, and it's got this big, massive elevated deck in the back, which is for weddings, right? It was really built for weddings. But now in an age of COVID, it's really interesting. People are finding them because they're looking for just really nice places to eat outside. So outdoor dining is kind of a big thing. So we got together with Laura Baker, who is the owner, and she's the innkeeper and quite a character. She shared with us that her favorite cocktail is a painkiller. So I had one with her, and guess what? It worked.
I'll actually be at Castle Manor for a wedding 2 weeks from this weekend, actually. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a great time. Great.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that she said, and Heather, I don't know if she said that something is happening now with COVID is last-minute weddings because they're all smaller anyway. But she said a couple weeks back she got a call like on a Thursday saying, "Hey, the following weekend, can you take a wedding?"
Yeah, small, instant, yeah, they're Insta weddings. Yeah. I think it's actually a great way to have a wedding. You take away all those years of stress and all that, everything's dragged out and the money gets bigger and bigger. And no, just do it short, sweet, wear your dress, have some cake, and call it a ceremony.
Exactly right. That's my kind of affair.
Yeah. No, I on the porch at the Castle Manor Inn pre-COVID, and it's a lovely place. It really is. And even the interior is really nice. Those beautiful Victorian rooms. It's a nice spot.
And the other thing I really love about it is when you're there, it's right on the main drag, really, if you think about it. It's on a busy road, but when you're in there, you don't feel it. You're surrounded by these gardens, you're on this deck. You feel like you're much deeper away from the main drag. It's nice. So, anyway.
So Erika, how about what's going on with schools in Manchester by the Sea and Essex?
We're starting to watch that very closely now. I think everyone is. What's happening is everyone's dealing with, it's a universal problem now, which is where every district is given mandates across the country. They're all given mandates for social distancing to go back. And therefore, the big problem is these facilities, they're not big enough to accommodate 100% in-school participation because it's just a non-starter. So the school committee is right in the middle. They're about to come out with a recommendation. They say by mid-August, but really the pressure is they want clarity. The parents want clarity, and it's kind of there's an urgency to it now because parents now, they're like, listen, there's three options. You can either, and everyone's reviewing, I think, the same things. 100% remote, that's a possibility. Number two, 1 week on and 1 week off. In other words, split the entire population in half and then toggle back and forth. And then the third option is 2 days in, 3 days off for everybody. So, and that would be a similar thing. You'd kind of go back and forth whether you were, in the 2 day, 3 day category. You'd sort of cycle through. So those are the choices. They've come out with the school committee has come out with, or the district, I should say, they've come out with a survey that's being fielded right now. They had a very well-attended, 150 people attended a Zoom meeting on Tuesday. And the school committee somebody started to tease out the results of the survey, even though the survey is still getting fielded, which I find to be a problem with data hygiene. Let's just call it that. But they're going to come out with the results of those surveys. But to me, does it really matter? Are we really going to be deciding the profile of coming back to school based on popular voting or surveys? I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is they're going to have to make the decision, and they're just going to have to go with it. We reached out to Pam Bodwin, who's the superintendent of schools here. Yeah, it's funny. Yesterday, I reached out to her and I said, I'm on deadline. I'd love to hear back from you on like what's going on with these particular things. We ended up writing the story anyway. I have yet to hear from her. Anyway, so
how about teachers? Are you hearing from any teachers how they feel about this? Are they part of the survey?
Well, here's the thing. Teachers are not part of the survey. It's just parents, and some kids have gotten a survey, which I'm trying to get into because I don't think they were surveying kids, but some kids did receive one. In terms of teachers aren't necessarily talking because they're all part of a union and there's part of a more formalized discussion going on, right? So here's what's really going on with teachers. A lot of teachers are saying that it's really a safety issue for them. And so they're sitting there saying, we need to really be ensured that we're going to be safe going back to school. So there's that layer on top of it. And then the layer on top of even that is, and this has been going on all summer, and I think every district is dealing with it, they're getting no indication and no clarity from the state on funding. So what is the funding that states are going to provide the districts and towns in light of the fact that they're all adjusted in terms of their operations during a pandemic, and they're going to have to do this at least for the fall semester, maybe even for the spring. There's going to be a continued adjustment. It may not be exactly what's in the fall, but that's what's going on. That was a really long answer.
No, well, it's a really long problem.
It is, but here's the thing, and I just want to stress this. The parents, they're all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of people complaining about the fact that they won't have special programming like special needs or AP. What's going on with those things? Those are the things that look like they're going to maybe fall away in a remote world. Then there's childcare. There's all sorts of things. Like Heather, you just said, it's very complicated. But really, at the end of the day, as much as all the parents are all over the place, here's what they want. They want clarity. Whatever it is, just tell me what it is and I'll deal with it. The worst problem is not knowing. And that's where they're at. So hopefully we'll get clarity within the next 10 days or so.
Well, I have a feeling that some of the clarity will come when Congress decides how much money is in this next package. So the states don't know what they're dealing with yet, what will be coming from the federal government. So I think they're sort of pausing on that decision, right? So
yeah, it's a complicated issue. I mean, about 10% of the funding for schools comes from the federal government. The 90% really is at the state level, but what you're touching on, and is very important, is it's easy to say it's only 10% for the federal government, but the truth is the 90% from the state comes because the states are waiting for the general support from the Congress, right?
Right. Exactly.
And that's where the pinch is.
Yeah, I really feel like this waiting game is kind of about that. So
hello,
yeah,
it's like time for school.
Right.
It's time for.
Yeah.
It's a time for cocktails, Erika. Can we talk about that? Can we talk cocktail recipes?
Okay, so we also did a piece this week. It's actually Chris McGinstraw, who is just She's just one of our best writers. I mean, she's just amazing. She's always good for a great little thing. This was a pet project for her. Shows you where she's coming from. But she did a piece that was really local on all the local, all comers submitted recipes for great cocktails. And we got 4 really amazing cocktails. 2 of them were from restaurants, and then 2 of them were from more sort of like, one was from a resident. So we have, in this week's edition, you can enjoy the Ontario is from Essex, is from a Essex resident, Christopher Wolf, and that sounds really amazing. We have the Mike Tai, which is a take on the Mai Tai. There's like a 70s theme here, because remember the Painkiller? That's a total like Caribbean, like 70s, 80s yacht rock thing. So the Mai Tai is back, but it's at the Mooring in Manchester, and it's with Mike Rosa did it. So that's why it's called the Mike Tai. And then the Tobacco Highball is a really interesting, because it's beer and bourbon, and it's from the Great Marsh Brewing Company in Essex. And I had it. It's kind of yummy. I liked it very much. And then the last one was from Helen's Bottle Shop in Manchester, and she had something called Rome with a View, as if it was Rome with a View, but Rome. So anyway, it was really great.
Awesome.
So you can get your drink on this weekend.
Right.
Trust me, I will.
Nothing you wouldn't already.
Yeah. Awesome stuff as always, Erika. You have a great weekend too, and we will chat with you next week.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.